I had a dream sometime last night that took me into a time machine, back to a time that was so confusing, confounding, strange, and forbidden. The time of limbo, a stage in life comparable to purgatory for a young girl about to enter womanhood. She's no longer a teenager, but still not an adult. The rite of passage is one gigantic gray area. 18, 21, a baby, a degree, marriage, a job, a house. What makes a girl a woman in this modern society? 5 years later, I still don't know the answer to that question. But back then, I was sure being a holy virgin still meant girl. I wanted to be a woman, kind of. I never really wanted to take it that far. There was supposed to be that one special someone to unlock the woman trapped within that little girl. It was supposed to be painful, intimate. Some few drops of blood were supposed to appear silently as a confirmation that this girl had transformed into a woman. Even the beautiful butterfly must shed one drop of blood upon its transformation into its new world as a splendid flying creature, delicate and fragile. Why do they tell us all these stories? Are we supposed to cherish them? Is it supposed to warm our hearts and build our expectations into a massive climax? And then that special day finally arrives and we realize that this is just another Disney fairy tale and real life doesn't happen that way? Or is that just my bitter story of how a special night was just some random fuck for a guy I'd never met before? How did that happen? How is it that a little girl goes from some pathetic innocence into brutal adulthood in just a few minutes? Well, that week, I had my wisdom teeth pulled. But chum. I swear that's how it all started. They put me under and ripped out every last sensible thing I could have ever hoped to know, and sent me on my way with some magically addictive little pills called painkillers. Nobody likes to feel pain when they can feel blissfully high instead. Or maybe that's just me. Call it what you will. Take 2 when needed, do not exceed 6 in a 24-hour period, were the doctor's orders. Somehow I translated that to take 6 at a time and at least 24 in a day. The pain went away, but who wants to get rid of that high? With Mexico just down the street, this habit was easily maintained. On one of those days, or was it a night? It's a bit of a blur looking back. I think it was a day turned night. A birthday party was happening just down the road. The little green goblin came out to play. Absinthe was fun. Such a good time. Barely functioning, I knew I had to leave. Those creepy-ass people had 10 years on me, and the subject matter at hand was constantly some sexual topic that I could offer no input on. Sex swings? Whips? Chains? Where the hell am I? My green goblin friend and I quietly said our goodbyes. Oh, the bed. My magical, quiet, relaxing, comforting bed was all I wanted. My imaginary pain was returning, and I could go for another dose of my prescription. So I could dream about sweet rainbows, unicorns, ice cream cones, little girl dreams that still maintain the wonderful happy place. As I pulled up to my house, rage filled my body. Although the shades were drawn, through the gaps I could see the masses of people that filled my living room. It was well after midnight, and all I wanted was some sleep and my prescription. I kicked open the back door that led into the backyard. Someone screamed, "Cops!" And some guy jumped the fence. The beer cans and red party cups also followed that brilliant young lad. No one had time to think clearly, but who else could it be? The cops would have been better, but instead there was a psychotic addict who thought she was a grown-up, but instead was a scared little girl. She ranted and raved and threw a tantrum until most of them left. My younger brother thought I was going to be gone for the night. Boy, was he mistaken. He came fumbling out of what had been a locked room, the dungeon of love or something like that. He knew me well and offered me a drink. Margaritas were my vice in those days. Bottoms up. Let's get this party started. Never mind that minor contraindication of those doctor-prescribed pills that said so clearly, do not drink alcohol while taking these pills. A haze was created, a thick fog of fun. Barely walking straight, let alone thinking straight. And that's when I saw him. He was beautiful, I think. Yeah, pretty sure. He was wearing a suit, a black tie, and playing a guitar. I swear, this is all true. He had removed his jacket and rolled up his white sleeves to reveal a brilliantly colored sleeve of tattoos. His black hair was slicked back, and his brown eyes looked right at me. To that hopeful little girl walking in a haze, an inspired idea popped into my mind. This must be my Prince fucking Charming. So naturally, the first thing I do is bellow, "Who the fuck is the guy playing the guitar? And who wears a suit to a party?" The rest is a bit of a blur, and I don't really know how, but the guy in the suit ended up in my room with his guitar. He played me some songs, and I was easily smitten. What a brilliant game. Any woman would have spotted it from a million miles away. Sometime later, he took off his pants. Wow, what is that thing? Never seen one that up close and in such good light. It's huge. That's supposed to go where? My private parts and your private parts match, huh? Interesting. I guess we started kissing, but I don't really recall that part either. I told him I was a virgin, but I think he thought I was lying. His game was so good that he must have thought that was mine. But it was no game, unless we were playing Truth or Dare, and I somehow missed that. Anyway, I guess the deed was done. I don't really recall much. Well, that's a bit of an exaggeration. I recall really nothing. Wasn't it supposed to hurt? Where was the blood? Wasn't I supposed to feel something? Anything? I guess that haze was too good, that high was just too high, that fog was just a tad too thick. We exited the room, and that's what I remember. What just happened? I don't even know. I guess now I'm a woman? Is this what that feels like? I don't feel anything. What happened? Did I do something wrong? At least he was hot. I was pretty sure of that. We went to lunch a few days later. Looking back, it was out of pity. I think he realized I didn't really get the game. We weren't on the same page, so he turned a new page. Jesus speaking words came flying in my direction. God loves you, even though I don't. Find your peace in that. I can baptize you if you want. Now in less of a haze, but in more of a daze, I went with it. For way too long. A pathetic cat-mouse game I played with a man who wore a suit and played the guitar. There was 1 week left before my destiny was to unfold. I was headed to Africa and had become sure that I would never return. So I sent him a text. He responded by asking for a ride from the airport. I packed up the van with the homies and off we went on a 2-hour mission to the airport to pick up the guy I still believe might actually like me, a little. He had just moved to a new place and he wanted to show me around. The homies were not impressed and waited in the car. I should have known better, but the little girl was still playing the fantasy film in her head and hoping this would be the story she could one day tell her kids. He led her up the stairs and proudly displayed his new pad. A small room with one light in a giant house that was filled to the brim with old beer cans and a mattress on the floor. Although unimpressed, I acted surprised at the seemingly great achievement. The tour continued to the room next door. It was empty, so this was at least a cleaner option. The light was on, but then it was off. He rushed toward me and a passionate kiss followed. This is what I was waiting for. He liked me. I liked him. Happily ever after, or not. We laid down on the floor, and this time I felt something, but only for a minute. You see, my friends were still in the car, and my phone wouldn't stop ringing. I don't know how long it had been, but I guess it had been long enough. Their patience was finished, and it was time to leave. I kissed him goodbye, and he shut the door. I left on a plane, and everything changed. Am I kidding? No, it didn't. I still loved him, my guitar-playing prince, a little girl's dream that was stuck on repeat. When I returned, I told him my stories, hoping we would connect. But who was I kidding? The chemistry just wasn't there. Or that's what he said. We were on 2 different levels, but I didn't know that. One day at a show, I proudly walked in with my new Prince Charming at my side. All of a sudden, there he was. What is he doing here? Oh, I was invited. What the hell? You must be crazy. So, what have you been up to? He asked. But I knew the real question was, so I've given up on that God thing, you want to do it? Have you met my boyfriend? Was my response. I was satisfied. I had won. Finally. This time, I had him backed in that corner. I ignored him all night, and was relieved when he left. What an awkward encounter. Spare me. I've found my true prince, and he thinks I'm his princess. That lasted nearly 2 years. But then reality set in. This time, I gave the spiel about chemistry and how we lacked the right mix. I broke his heart, and he stomped on mine. We went our separate ways, and again I was in a daze. I messaged my suit-wearing prince, and we met up. Things went well. It was fun. We talked on a level I wonder if few get to do. But then there's that thing. Along with chemistry comes timing. See, the guitar-playing prince was into God again. That pesky belief system that does its best to keep you out of trouble. It's worked out okay, but this fairy tale sucks. That first Prince Charming ruined it for me. All these years later, I still want to ask him, why did you do it? Did you even realize that this little girl's dreamland was burned up in seconds when your sexy suit-wearing guitar-playing self sauntered into my life? Now you have a daughter, and I hope you understand how vital her daddy is, and how shattering a dream can be so easy. Don't feed her lies and let her wander alone on her own. Teach her about love and that it can be found. Teach her that waiting won't do her harm. Teach her that she can't value herself based on a Prince Charming. These lessons I speak of, I'm still trying to learn. So far, it's been a disaster. I'm still holding on to that fairy tale idea that one day the stars will align and the universe will speak, and that one Prince Charming that must somewhere exist will find me, irresistible and worth holding on to, sacrificing all else just because of a thing called love. We will travel the world and change it as we go. One day we will get tired and relax by a beach, together, forever and always. My Prince Charming, I have just one regret. I didn't wait for you. So my heart's in pieces and some life lessons need to be unlearned. Teach me how to trust you and love you. I didn't learn that part from the fairy tale ending. I don't really get it. The all-encompassing happily ever after, it leaves questions lingering rather than answers. On some fateful day, will that one amazing Prince Charming really bring that love that will leave us happily ever after? Or is that fairy tale just a cruel myth?